Hello, listeners. Welcome back to my podcast. And if you've been paying attention, you'll know that I'm throwing the doors open on the vintage versus modern lifestyle. And I can hardly ignore a very age-old debate that I'd like to really get my teeth into today. And I've got a very special guest helping me with that. So the debate is classic versus modern cars. Now, this can get a bit tense, and people can get quite passionate about it because the argument is which has the biggest carbon footprint, and the answer might not be as obvious as you think. Are modern cars more convenient? Are they arguably safer? But again, like with vintage, classic is celebrated, and classic cars are celebrated by a very enthusiastic community, one of which I have with me today, and it is my amazing partner, Jack. What did you say the term was? I've forgotten already. It's not classic car enthusiast. What are you?
Petrol head.
That was it. You're a petrol head.
That's funny.
No, it's petrol head. It's just so
Diesel brain.
Diesel brain. And while we've been dating for about 2 years, and you've been slowly introducing me to the classic car scene. Baptism of fire. Yeah. Where I've been trying to learn all of the terminology and all of the nuances, and also why it's so celebrated and why classic cars should remain on the road. You're a classic car head. What would you define as a classic car?
So officially, if it's over 25 years old, I think it is. Again, I didn't look this up. I think it's 20. Yeah, sorry, but you call me a classic car head, then, not a petrol head.
Sorry,
so,
I've blended the two terminologies. Yeah. Shoot me.
25 years old, I think it is, and above is insurable on classic insurance. There may be different insurance policies for other people. I sound like I'm working for Go Compare now.
You do. What is classic car insurance, and how does it differ to my 2007 Beetle insurance?
Well, it's cheaper.
Ah, okay.
For a start, depending on how many points you've got, obviously.
Right. Did you say 25 years old?
Yeah, basically, it's just eligible for it.
25?
25.
Wow.
Years old.
Oh, yeah. Makes me feel sick.
Yeah.
So 25 is classic.
25 is classic.
Great.
Which is sad for me.
So what's
turn this year.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
You're gonna be a classic birthday boy.
35.
Shut up. No, you don't. So anything younger than 25?
Yeah.
We're bordering into the retro realm.
No.
No, we're not. Shush. What?
So it's just an old car, but not quite old enough.
Oh, fine. Fine. So there's no like blurred line or like grey area. It's just you're either got a classic car or you haven't.
Call it what you want, but officially, generally you can insure them as a classic car at 25.
Okay.
If it's over 40 years old,
yeah,
you don't even have to have an MOT on it or tax. So, which is another pro or con.
No tax either.
No tax.
And you never have to get it in for an MOT.
No. So you just insure it. You buy it, you insure it. Job done. So it's cheaper to insure.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay for tax.
Wow.
It could be anything from £50 to £500 a year, depending on what it is.
Wow.
And you don't have to MOT it, which is £42 a year. And then if something's broken on it, which should get fixed anyway.
Should get fixed anyway by whom?
Yourself or garage.
Okay. So the government is basically riding on the fact that you will maintain this car, you will keep it roadworthy, you will keep it safe.
Yeah.
And I guess they're feeling because it's classic, you'll want to, because you have the car for the love of the car to start with, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's very unlikely that you're going to have a 1979 Austin Mini if you don't like them.
Yeah, that's true, because Minis are tricky, huh? Because you had a Mini.
Yeah.
And you had all kinds of fun, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, that was fun.
So much fun restoring that.
Following you down the motorway as she was just about to give out. That was a particular highlight.
Packed up.
Yeah.
This was after restoration. Obviously not a very good one. Sorry, whoever bought it.
Okay, so that's the classic car. And what classic car? What do you drive? What is your baby?
Well, I drive.
Oh God, here we go.
1989 BMW E30. I'm the worst person to talk to about this because it's currently going to be rebuilt. So I'm kind of, but that's by my choice.
Why is that a bad thing? Arguably, that you're going to be remodeling her or whatever you said.
Oh no, it's not a bad thing. It's just if we're on the argument of finance, of money, you can't argue that mine's a cheap. But that's my choice.
Sure.
But I'm tripling the power of it. This is the other avenue of petrolism. It's not just looking after old cars.
Yeah.
It's the modifications as well. I mean, the good thing about blending old with new, which is kind of what this podcast is touching on.
It is.
And you can modernise a classic car to make it more efficient.
Okay.
Doesn't mean putting an electric motor in it, though. I'm against that.
So electric cars, big no-no.
Not for me. But that comes in the name, though, doesn't it?
Well, it's oh yeah, of course. Well, it's funny, when my first episode that I did a little kind of like, as I was summarising everything, to try and describe what I meant. I used the example of, well, you're never going to have an electric car show like you have classic car shows, are you? And my point was, because modern may not be as celebrated as vintage, and I just use that as an example. But for you, electric cars, no.
Well, I can see the idea behind them. Currently we don't have the facilities to accommodate an entire a nation of electric cars.
No, I don't really know why, but I'm guessing because of the charging ports and things.
Charging points, mostly, yeah. But if you try to charge, if every house, most houses now have at least 2 cars, don't they?
Yes.
So now imagine all those cars. Now imagine the charging wires going across the road.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Outside your house.
Oh my gosh, wouldn't have room.
Or you can't even park.
No.
In front of your house sometimes.
No driveway.
So imagine how long your cable will have to be to go up to where you parked.
Of course. And I guess that brings me on to the real crux of this episode.
Yeah.
Carbon footprint.
Yeah.
Now, you know that I'm a bit of a conservationist at heart. We are both pigeon keepers, I would say, pigeon rescuers. But also have a big love for...
Not by choice.
Not by choice, no. By total circumstance. But we are wildlife lovers. We are conscious of our carbon footprint. I struggle to find how you can't be these days, but maybe that's for another episode. So let's talk about the chunky business. Which impacts the environment the most? Because on the note of electric cars, yes, there are certain elements that are going to cause a massive problem. Where are those cables going to go? Like physically, how are we going to have the room?
Yeah.
But, you know, there is the argument that modern vehicles tend to have technology that enables them to burn less fuel, and in some cases can be battery powered. Now, less fuel is probably the biggest downside of a classic car. I mean, what elements of the classic car scene maybe counteract that?
If you're talking about carbon footprint, and not at the cost of the owner, a battery-powered car, it's reckoned that to make a battery-powered car, i.e. a Tesla, or even a hybrid like a Prius with a hybrid battery in it. Anyway, creating this big, ugly, stinking battery is more damaging to the environment than the entire lifetime of your average diesel car.
Wow.
Apparently. An electric battery, before it even is in a car, before that car even hits the road, it's already been all the way around the world, had loads of heavy diesel drinking machines, lifting materials out the ground, stick it on a great big cargo ship to go to there, and there, and there. I don't know the exact ins and outs of it.
Of course, yeah.
But if somebody wants to look it up.
Well, I have done. So we had this conversation a while ago when myself and Jack were thinking about what kind of podcast would we like to do together, because we are, I would say, a vintage couple. So we enjoy a more like, you know, vintage pastimes together. And when we met, and I realised that Jack was into, you know, like classic cars, and you were into like steam railway. It really, really fit with my entire vibe. And it kind of like, it didn't become the basis of our relationship, but everything we do now is of that ilk, and we enjoy it thoroughly. So we spoke about what were we going to talk about during this podcast. And I think the classic car scene is a huge thing to sort of pull apart, because the way that travel is going is changing more so in the last few years than it has done in probably the last 50. So it is something that I wanted to look into, and I did do a little bit of research. So here are some arguments for the classic car scene, which might be related to what you've just said. So statistics show that the average classic car travelling a national UK yearly average of 1,200 miles generates 563 kg of CO2 per year. A typical modern car emits up to 6.8 tonnes of CO2 before it even departs the factory. So obviously we need to take into consideration the mileage of that classic car is very low for that year. And I guess one thing that you're kind of banking on with the classic car scene having a lower carbon footprint is that classic cars aren't driven as much.
Let's say you order. This doesn't just apply to classic cars. It can be anything that's already been made. The point is, it's been made. It's made its carbon footprints already. Whereas if you buy something new, if you order something new, even it has to be made. So it's got to make it's before it comes into the world. It's already making a massive footprint.
Yes, well, clearly.
But if you buy something that's already been built, it's done its damage. It's done its biggest bit of damage now. That's irreversible.
Yes,
but you can have the benefits of that new car, but by having an older one.
Yes, it's kind of
Still
like
does the same thing.
Sustainable fashion.
Yeah,
the clothes are already in circulation.
Yeah,
so if more people sort of started jumping on the sustainable fashion bandwagon, you could argue that less clothes will be in circulation, so our landfills will be less.
Yeah.
But of course, and I agree. I think, those statistics are showing that a modern car is like tripling the carbon footprint it's making before it's even left the factory versus a classic one. But we are, that's on the basis that classic cars aren't driven as much. So classic cars are Sunday cars, right? Or no? No,
you could. I mean, I dailied mine for ages.
So could you argue then that will in turn build up a bigger carbon footprint? Because what if we all drove classic cars every single day?
Well, we couldn't because there's not enough out there.
Fair enough.
I'm not suggesting that everybody goes out and buys a Triumph Herald or something, because they're all rotted away. But also, there isn't enough of them. I'm not actually making an argument here. I'm just expressing my
passion.
Yeah.
No. Absolutely.
So before anybody gets into the comments and tells, "Oh, look at that four-eyed idiot. He doesn't know what he's on about." I don't.
No, this is what the podcast is for. It's not because anybody's sitting on like one particular side of the fence.
No.
It's just to have the discussion.
Yeah.
You have a works van, which is very much modern, and that's your everyday sort of car.
Yeah.
And you have, I call her Judas.
I call her Judas.
Well, no, but like, as in, I call her Judas. Jack told me that the E30's name was Judas, and now I don't call her the E30 ever. I always call her Judas, but Judas is the E30. And you have the E30, for your...
That's a BMW, by the way.
Leisure car? Would leisure be the right term then, maybe?
Scrap at the moment.
But
yeah. But once it's had its engine swap, yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wouldn't daily it anymore because I've got a daily car. No, but you can daily them. That's
interesting, because I think one of the heavy sides was that the cars, being already assembled is a huge win for the classic car scene, because you're right, because the amount of energy that is used. I mean, another statistic. So a modern vehicle takes more energy to produce. I don't know what this means, but just over 31,000 BTUs, whatever that means, of energy to produce, which is the equivalent of burning about 1,000 gallons of gasoline. And that's before you even turn the engine on. Yeah. So again, it's of that vein of before it's even left the factory.
Before it's hit the road, yeah.
So
plus again, these electric cars, how do we power them?
Battery.
Yeah, but how do we charge the battery?
Electricity.
How do we make electricity?
By mining into the ground and things.
Power stations.
Right, yes, power stations.
Fossil fuel burning power stations.
You are absolutely correct, yeah.
So we've made a vehicle here which has made such a big carbon footprint, and now they're being driven around and then charged
Yes.
by burning more fossil fuels.
Yeah.
You're essentially introducing a middleman into a system that didn't need one
That's very interesting.
by having a car that needs to be charged. Because to create the charge you're going to put in that battery that creates no emissions, you've got to create emissions.
But I guess
to create the electricity to
petrol though, same problem, different font, right?
Yeah, but to create that battery,
yes,
if to make it,
yes,
is
already
has done more damage than the lifetime of running that car.
Yes,
that's diesel powered, let's say.
Yes, you're quite right.
It's a big load of unnecessary damage, surely.
You're quite right when you say lifetime.
Yeah.
It will take 47 years for a classic car to produce the emissions of building a modern one.
They are then.
That one really.
Thanks for watching. That's a good point.
Well, wait a minute. I mean, it has in a way. It has, because I feel as a vintage creator or whatever you call me. Obsessive, all right. Sometimes we do get a bit of stick that in celebrating what we love, we are damaging the environment. I mean, I remember the other week I had a bit of a to-do with a consultant that I work with, and I happened to mention my log burner.
Yeah.
And he kind of went, kind of chortled. He was like, oh. And I was like, no problem. But he sort of said, he just made a little passing comment of, well, it's not very energy efficient, is it? And I was like, no, it probably isn't, but I don't know enough about it.
Yeah, but what about burning gas to heat the house?
Well, exactly. I thought, I mean, yeah, all right, it comes to budget, and we'll probably get onto that next. The reason I like my log burner
cheap to run
is because it's cheap to run. I would rather buy logs and chuck them on the fire than turn my heating on. I mean, me and my mum, we felt the cost of living crisis, still feel it. People were absolutely like destroyed by the way that, the gas prices and electricity bills went up. We were one of them. Forgive me for lighting my log burner every once in a while to save a bit of money. And no, maybe when we did have the log burner installed, I didn't think about the footprint on the environment because we wanted it.
Yeah, but your contribution there is tiny.
Yes.
Even if everyone in this country did it, we'd still be.
It'd be a drop in the ocean, right?
Yeah. Look at China. Look at Russia.
Yeah.
Look at Korea. Well, you can't, but
you're not allowed. You're not allowed. But it was still that kind of like tension, that kind of like old age argument, or maybe new modern argument now of like, oh, just leave it where it is. It's all about progression now. We need to just keep making things that are more environmentally conscious. And by doing something that you just like the look of, you're damaging the environment. That wasn't what he said, but it's not the first time I've sort of felt that kind of judgment, maybe because I'm celebrating an era gone by. Is there a reason? I mean, I get told all the time, like, oh, your oven's got lead in it, and things. I get that all the time. My oven's fine. She's great.
It runs on gas, same as any other oven.
Yeah.
It's an oven.
And this is another thing that I've touched upon in this series to start with, is the life expectancy or the lifespan of things that are built in the modern day short.
Yeah.
Yes.
It seems they have a almost planned
life expectancy.
Yeah, they have a planned destruction.
And a study showed most vehicles are built and scrapped within 13 years. Now, pigeons live longer than 13 years. That gives you any indication of what a short amount of time that is. And older classic vehicles tend to be around for much longer, which is in turn why they're a lot more sought after.
They are the survivors, though. They're not. There is substantially less of them than there was.
Yeah.
But that's because of scrappage schemes.
Yes. Kind of like steam rail. I guess, there's not many of them knocking about anymore, and that's all for the love of it, isn't it? And that's all from passionate volunteers.
Yeah, but I mean, the difference between a steam train and a classic car is a steam train arguably serves no function other than to
keep the past alive.
Yeah.
So isn't a classic car doing that?
No, because you can still use it as a car.
So you're talking about function?
Function.
Oh, okay. Steam trains have no functionality in the modern day.
Arguably, but they're too nice to get rid of.
They are too nice because you volunteer as a... Did volunteer as a... Is it fireman, or you're not quite a fireman yet? What is it called?
Well, I was a cleaner.
A cleaner
but
for the footplate.
Yeah. Basically, I was a volunteer on a heritage railway.
What do you love about the classic car scene then? So let's boil it back down to the passion, because this podcast ain't going to be
very interesting.
No, that's definitely not what I was going to say, but glad to think you think that. I was going to say this podcast ain't about to be solving world hunger.
No.
Just because we're talking about these massive issues doesn't mean
nothing is going to change.
Doesn't mean that electric cars are going to stop being mass produced and they're still going to keep peddling them, wherever you go. Not physically peddling them. You don't peddle electric cars, you do drive them. Electric is, I think, one day going to be the way forward. And I think my 2007 Beetle is going to even look, it is already old, to be fair, isn't it? But
it's bollocks.
It's bollocks, yeah. It's not a classic, it's an old banger. Yeah, it's just interesting to know, because I am trying to be environmentally conscious. But let's talk about keeping the passion alive and what that does for your soul.
So a lot of my friends are through petrolheadism, as I've met the majority of my mates through being into cars. Some of them I have nothing in common with other than this. So you can imagine how interesting the conversations are. There's a good sense of community with the classic stuff. The modern stuff has a more toxic scene.
In what way?
There's more illegal shit going off.
Okay, yeah.
So like the postcode meets.
Yeah, that was kind of like crazy.
Yeah.
When I went to one of those,
whereas the classic stuff's more chilled out.
Yes, a bit more regulated, would you say?
Yeah, more regulated, but because that's because everyone's old. A modern car meet is just full of dickheads.
Yeah.
Basically, it's loads of. I know this is a massive trope. It's kids in Corsas and Fiestas.
No, yeah,
with
yeah.
pops and bangs.
Yeah,
remaps.
It did feel like copy and paste when I was there.
Yeah.
I can't lie. It did feel like that. It did.
But the point is, I can't judge that because somebody finds joy in it.
Of course.
Definitely not me.
So talk to me about that, because you just said it. Why are they more regulated? Why are they a bit more a Sunday afternoon? Because they're full of old boys and ladies. You're very young. You are probably going against the grain a bit, being into the classic scene and not the modern scene. Why are you into classic cars, steam railway? Why you're very young to keep these passions alive? Where's that come from?
I don't know. It's not a simple question, is it? Where your passions come from. I find the aesthetics of old things more appealing. Cars, steam engines, everything like that. I don't connect in the same way with the modern stuff. That's not a snobbery thing.
No.
That's not a pretentious thing.
I feel exactly. I mean, you can probably see why we're. Oh gosh, I was going to say something really sappy. Then I'm not going to say that. Why we're together.
Yeah.
I was going to say madly in love. But why we're together, because I feel quite the same. The connection isn't there.
Yeah. There's a soul with older things.
Yes. What is that?
I don't know.
More characterful.
Well, I'll tell you what it is actually. An old car, let's say, has a more human quality because it has faults. Because as people, we're not perfect, are we?
No, absolutely not.
But if you were perfect in every single way, nobody would like you.
I love that.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
But like with my old car, sometimes it's a piece of shit.
Yeah, she's naughty sometimes. Yeah.
But that's kind of why I love it, because it's got this humane quality about it because it's imperfect.
I love that.
I think you can apply that to a lot of old things.
Yes.
So like your cooker.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
For example.
Yeah. Yeah, she can be temperamental.
Yeah, but when it works, it feels more satisfying than something that's predictably correct. No, not predictably reliable.
I absolutely love that.
So that van out there.
Yeah.
That 2019 van of mine. I know for a fact I will go out there and whatever time it is, whatever temperature it is, anything, turn the key and it will start up. A guarantee.
Yeah.
Judas, I have no idea.
No.
She will eventually.
Yeah, of course.
She'll be a... I nearly said a word. You shouldn't.
Maybe that's one swear word too much for this
cow.
The cow bag about it. I think that is the single greatest thing I have ever heard. Like, I'm actually emotional about that because I don't think
this looks so staged.
No, I mean it. I've never had it described to me in that way. You are so right. The beauty of older things, or older anything, is that they're a little bit more human. They feel more human.
They have a soul.
They have a soul.
Yeah.
They are temperamental. They do need warming up a little bit before they'll choose to work. And I love that about them. And you're right. And actually, I thought you said it right the first time when you said like predictable correctness, and then you change it to predictable reliability.
Yeah.
Either.
Yeah.
Actually, either. Modern things are they are correct, and they are reliable, and they are instant, and you know what you're going to get. And actually, I find that a little bit boring. I find that lacks character. I find that lacks soul, and I have no joy in using the thing. I would rather put logs on a fire than flick the heating on.
Yeah. Well, that fire, for example, you've got to work with it to get it to work.
Yes.
You know, we've got to build it right. We've got to light it correctly. You know, oh bollocks, it's going out there. Let's all that stuff. Whereas my heating, which turned on just before this.
Yeah. Literally, it's like when we went to Edinburgh on the don't tell me the name of the loco. Hold on a moment. The Scots Guardsmen.
Yeah.
Look at me. Seeing those men. Covered in sorted ash, and they were all black around their eyes, and they were filthy. But bloody hell, they looked like they'd done a good day's work, didn't they? And they looked like they were going to have a bacon sandwich and a brew after a really, really fulfilling day. And I think I get fulfilled from older things, which you've described it perfectly. They are more human. And as the modern world keeps progressing, that human element...
The soul will vanish.
Yeah. Even though we've got AI, even though we've got robots now that can smile back at you, for some reason, it still doesn't feel as human.
It's scary, though.
It is scary.
It is scary. Like, AI is scary.
AI is terrifying. I mean, I'll tell you what else scares me. It even scared me a little bit. You did it once, and this is like minor tech with cars... When the car kind of knows...
Oh, the lane assist.
Lane assist.
Oh, this is another argument for classic cars as well.
Go on.
Before we move on.
No, don't go.
You just imagine that lane assist. This just a bit of context. This was a hire car I had. Most cars now come with the ability to essentially drive itself to an extent, as in it can stay in it can nudge you back into its own lane, and it's got cruise control, and it's got this, and it's got that, and it's got parking sensors, and it's got all these bits and bobs on it. Whereas an old car, again, I'm not saying this is better, but it has none of these things. So you have to work with it. You have to, and it makes you a better driver. It makes you a safer driver, in fact.
That's a great point.
Cause
You're full of them today, aren't you? Bloody hell.
I think, yes, a modern car has braking assist on it, traction control, airbags, things like that, which will save you. Some things will save you in a crash, but a classic car, you probably won't get into that crash because you have to pay attention. You have to work with it harder. You're going to be a better driver than the person next to you in a car that can drive itself. You just are, because you're having to work with the machine.
Now there's a fantastic, and you're absolutely right, skill set.
Yeah.
If we really just break it down right now, actually skill set, who is going to be a better driver? Somebody who's driven nothing more than an automatic electric car, or somebody like you that has wrestled, I think that's a fair word, wrestled with a classic stick shift, or whatever what do we call it? Oh, yeah.
Manual.
Oh my gosh.
So American.
It's because I watch a lot of American television, leave me alone. But that is true, and I think that would be... I think you could argue that on a wider spectrum. As kids are growing up now, are they going to know how to do simple stuff?
No.
Are they going to know how to sew? Are they going to know how to get a fire going?
Bleed a radiator.
Bleed a radiator, for God's sake. Probably not. No. I mean, oh gosh, I hope that doesn't sound judgmental. They're going to be, way more technologically advanced than we probably ever were, and they'll probably be able to work a computer or an iPad better, and they're probably going to learn a lot because the world is going to be so accessible to them. But are they living in the world? I would say no.
Well, look at a scary image from the other day, New Year's, but it was a picture of a fireworks display,
right?
But it was a picture from the back of the crowd, and you couldn't see any heads because it was all smartphone screens.
Oh no!
Again, I don't say that upon pomposity, because that's their choice.
Absolutely. And I love technology.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm surrounded by it right now. I do love technology.
Yeah, I'm not under the opinion that technology is a bad thing or anything.
No.
It's just how we use it.
Yes. And also, it's what we forget in using it. I think that's the biggest thing. I love tech. I can't wait to see what the next video game console is going to be, because I'm a massive gamer and I love it. But and also I do think like, will it be really great if one day the cars are so very safe that when, I don't know, our parents are old and they get into their little electric car, we feel that they're safe because the car's kind of taking the wheel a little bit. I don't know. Right. But yeah, I think although, there are some great elements to moving forward, moving with the times, which we both struggle to do, I don't want to forget. No. And history is changing before our very eyes. Harkening back to when we were like, what are we going to think when the 2010 cars are now 20 years old?
Yeah.
Is some kid like you, bless you, when you first started and you were like, what, 16? 17? Is some kid going to see like a car from the 2010s and be like, oh my God, I can't wait to own that car and like, maintain it? And do you think?
Yeah.
Do you think?
Well, look at my car. It's 10 years older than me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
For some reason, well, you
Why does it feel older?
You don't remember I don't know. You remember the 40s. No, sorry. You don't remember Yeah.
Hold on a moment.
Plastic surgery, ladies and gentlemen.
I do not remember the 40s.
You do not remember the 40s.
I do not.
Yet you have a nostalgia for it.
Yeah. That's called, correct me, I can't remember the word.
Insanity.
There's a word for when you feel nostalgic for an era you've never lived in. It's like...
But the point is, though, you weren't necessarily born in the wrong time. You were born in this time to keep another time alive.
Now that's what I like to think I'm doing.
God, that sounds so wanky.
No, I like it. I mean, even my grandparents aren't nostalgic for the 40s. I mean, they were only kids. They were, really young kids, but they were still there.
Yeah.
They don't look back. I mean, my grandpa more so because of the films and stuff. My nan doesn't. She's not nostalgic for it at all. And then here's me trying to keep it alive and recreate it in content. I mean, it's funny, isn't it?
But yeah, no. But the point is though. I mean, I don't remember the 80s. Sadly,
no. We weren't born. We weren't born.
No.
So no.
But for some reason I have a harkening to it, and it's the same with the cars.
But you can't really you don't really know why. No.
No.
I mean, I can sort of say why. My grandpa did have a big... But for you, actually, I don't know.
There isn't an influence.
No.
For me, not with the cars. Definitely not. There's no petrol heads in my immediate family.
No, there isn't, is there?
The railway stuff, yeah, my granddad, that's all his fault. But
bless him, yeah.
Cars, I mean, my dad wasn't a boy racer in the 90s.
No, he wasn't, was he?
No.
Even though he had an earring.
Yeah, yeah.
Obviously, your granddad, got you into the railway scene. That feels like it shouldn't be called that. Loco scene.
No, that's even.
Sorry. What do you call it then?
Just into railways.
All right, your granddad got you into railways.
Yeah. I have a bone to pick with you, actually.
What?
Your video on the Edinburgh trip.
Yeah.
There's so much false terminology in it.
What did I say?
You called the crew the fireman.
Is that not right?
No.
They're fireman. What are they then?
The crew.
Why is it called? Why is he called a fireman? I've heard you call it fireman several times.
Yeah, but
I'm training to be a fireman.
That's an individual person, though.
So they're not allowed to be firemen?
No.
Why? Because
the driver's not a fireman, is he? And he's on there too.
Was he?
Yeah.
I didn't know the driver was on there. I thought it was all the I know what to call them. The crew that were on the footplate.
Yeah.
I called it a footplate. Weren't you proud of that?
No.
Because that was the only terminology I said wrong. Firemen.
No, there was something else.
What?
I'll berate you over it later.
That's absolutely despicable. I'm trying here. All right, sorry. The crew. But yeah, on the I don't know what railways.
Yeah.
On steam railways, heritage railways.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't volunteer as much as you used to because obviously you are currently doing up a 1930s property.
Yeah.
Can I just say amazingly?
Yeah.
And that's one thing that we're enjoying. Well, I'm not doing the actual work. You are.
I do the work and she enjoys the...
I enjoy it, but we are currently exploring the blend of vintage and modern in house renovation. Me and my mum have dabbled in this in my home, my 1920s property. We're dabbling in it with yours.
Who's we?
You know, the royal we.
I don't remember you being there when I did all the work.
He has done so much work. Like, you can't actually... Like, I can't describe how much work doing a podcast is and all the editing and the boring bits you don't see. I can't really fathom how long it took to paint those stairs, to be honest with you. I think you've done an amazing job. But that's... You know, and maybe this will end up being the answer to my entire question of vintage versus modern. Maybe it's a blend of both, because not everything that you've put back into the house is original, is it, or authentic? And there's a lot of reasons for that. Thank God. Why thank God?
Well, you see how it was before.
No, I don't mean you've not used what's already here. I mean, you've not found period appropriate replacements.
Oh,
because you can't, can you?
No.
You can't, and you know...
It's not marketable.
No. And sometimes you've added a bit of
Je ne sais quoi.
You can't... I use that in my first podcast. You've got to use a different term. But yes, je ne sais quoi. Frills. Like with the coving.
Yeah.
That's not quite coving, but it is coving because it's actually polystyrene coving, isn't it? That's so clever. That's so clever. And you've had to rebuild the stairs, obviously, you know, with the tools that you've had to hand, but they're original, which is amazing. And I think, you know, so sometimes it does make life a bit easier. But anyway, we digress. The railway. What's the future when it's just about passion? It should still be kept alive, right? The same as a stately home should be. Yeah, I think so.
The benefits... I mean, I'm not slating heritage railways at all, because I love them. I'm not.
Okay, I'm so interested in what you're going to say next then.
No,
why would you have
just,
to skip...
No,
okay.
No, what I'm saying is... Yes, you could argue that a steam engine is redundant, but how many people go? It brings in tourism, a local economy. Oh,
that's a very good point. A sense of community, for the local economy.
Yeah, like Loughborough, for example, the Great Central.
I don't know Loughborough, but I'm guessing it probably had a hand in reviving the community in some way.
It must do.
Because all the events that you can have and the opportunity for people to dress up. So thank God people are still yearning for the past, because otherwise it would remain redundant because nobody would care. But clearly people are still. Although what I am finding with vintage events every single time, bar maybe a few other people, and I really mean a few, we're the youngest there by far. Like, I don't think, in spite of all their work, and I'm not just talking Loughborough here, I'm talking stately homes like Chatsworth, and I'm talking anywhere where they're trying to keep the past alive and make history cool. Make history cool. Come on, kids.
Yeah.
And families bring their very young kids, but I mean, young people, I don't see them very often there. And I don't know whether it's cool yet, but I think in that regard, content like TikTok, Instagram, that does bring a lot of love for the past back. Yeah. You've got to agree with that one.
The problem is with things like heritage railways, are probably one of the best examples of it, is when the old generation eventually does die off.
Good Lord.
Is there going to be enough of this generation to keep that going? And we just don't know yet.
No, we don't. And this is why I think history is changing. Let there be light.
That was shit.
that coughed to life. Sorry, we just had to turn the light on here. I couldn't see his face. And you could argue this about a lot of hobbies. I mean, it's so much more than a hobby, isn't it? That feels
pigeon
like
keeping, for example.
All right, then, steal my point. Yeah. Pigeon keeping. Omar is one of the youngest pigeon keepers I know of, because most of the other people that I've now ended up following or seeing or reading about since becoming a pigeon keeper myself are old boys. They're boys in the 70s, aren't they?
Pigeon fanciers.
Okay, maybe,
People who have, one or two as pets, maybe that's...
No, you're right, actually. I'm talking about pigeon fancying here, the actual hobby. Who have lofts and maybe show them, which, I do find a little bit controversial, and I don't know enough about it to comment. But you're right. People who have pet pigeons, I've seen people of all ages have pet pigeons, and I've seen people of all generations rescue and rehab pigeons. But I'm talking about the traditional hobby now, like the heritage railway, a real traditional that's been going on for hundreds of years kind of hobby, fancying. That will probably not be around
in the same way
forever.
I think a lot of things will end up evolving whether it's due to a generational thing, economy-based thing. Like, for example, back to cars. One day, the petrol will run out, and it will, and as that day comes, it will get more expensive and price some people out of it, unless there's some kind of biofuel that's invented, which I think Porsche, I think they're working on something. Yeah, hopefully there'll be something.
Yeah,
I hope so, because it's a massive market.
Yeah, and you've still got. I'm going to assume, I kind of know. I couldn't name them though. You've still got classic cars, I'm sure, that you want in your collection. And what are some of them? Tell me some of the classic cars that you're hoping one day to fill your driveway with.
Old BMWs.
Oh, nice.
Another Mini. I know I've slated them.
You said that it was terrible.
Yeah,
Not terrible, but
they are. But they're lovely as well.
Oh, they are lovely though.
Yeah.
They really are lovely.
Yeah.
And I don't know how people gather pleasure when they're driving down the road in a really ultra modern car versus driving down a country lane of a Sunday afternoon in a little Mini.
Well, we had fun. The rare thing happens in a Mini. You have fun legally.
What do you mean?
As in, you can have fun at the speed limit.
Yes, you can have fun at the speed limit. I don't need you to go. You weren't showing off and like, oh, look what this baby can do by going like ultra fast.
Not much.
She can't, like 50k.
70.
Oh, 70, of course,
Yeah.
70. But that's not what it's about, is it? You know, it's so much more than that. And in ultra modern cars, what is there? But, you know, one thing that I am finding in this series is I'm getting a lot of people who share my views on keeping the past alive. And appreciating the art of doing, the art of actually doing something, and everything not being reliable and everything not being instant, and people like that. I've got loads of people like that. I've not managed to connect with a massive amount of people in the modern community. So if anybody would like to invite us for a spin in their ultra modern car, you know, with, I don't know, what's modern stuff, seat warmers, voice command.
That's not that new.
No. No?
Yeah. Electric windows.
What's new in a modern? I don't know. Headlights that do. No, that's not new. Because 80s cars have those. Because I love them. The headlights that go up and down, pop-ups. Yeah.
That's not even a new thing. That's an old thing.
Oh.
Cars haven't been made with them for like 20 years.
All right. Well, what things do modern cars have then that would impress me?
Okay,
impress a vintage girl.
Lane assist, self-park. You know, the cars that park themselves.
Okay, that would be kind of cool to see.
Yeah,
I'd like to see that.
Self-drive, i.e. Tesla.
Self-drive. All right then. Well, if anybody would like to invite us in their ultra-modern car that self-drives, you don't even have to be there.
I'm not interested, but you go ahead.
You know, you're really not, are you? Because you just have such a... No. Because it doesn't give you anything, does it? No. And I get that too. I'm not impressed by if somebody walked me into an ultra modern kitchen and it was pristine and everything was like, you know, at the touch of a button or voice controlled.
Yeah.
And like, you know, good for them. I bet it cost millions, but I wouldn't feel anything about it. Millions, yeah. Well, your parents' friend, how much did she pay for that one bath?
Oh, that's her stupid fault.
But still, you can't tell me that, you know, really ultra modern stuff, you know, is
Who puts
expensive.
a bath in a kitchen?
Yeah, but that's not what I'm saying. You're being silly. Yeah. But like, you know, I'm talking like, oh, okay, fine, not millions. That might be a bit of a stretch. Thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe. But like the monetary value doesn't really do much for me. My cooker was £16. I'll be more impressed if you showed me her than I would if you showed me your ultra modern house. But I am up for being not converted, but I'm up for seeing the other side of life and the benefits of modern and living in an ultra modern world without it crippling us with depression. So if anybody would like to show me that side of things, then, you know, please do. What's your next piece of maintenance on Judas going to be?
Oh, you know, tiny little things like ripping the engine out and
Good Lord.
Putting in a new one, revamping the entire interior and just doing every single nut and bolt on the car, really. Okay,
and the last thing I wanted to ask you is it's kind of like the theme of this entire podcast. So when it comes to soul and inner joy, is it vintage or is it modern for you?
Both.
Like it. Both.
Neither.
Neither?
In the middle.
In the middle.
It's retro.
Okay, retro. So you like old modern?
Yes.
Okay. I like it. It's a good answer. Is the modern world making us depressed?
Yes.
Okay. Love to hear your thoughts as to why, when you just said it could be either or for you, but you very quickly said it's modern that's making us depressed.
If you lived in the 40s, you'd be depressed.
Yeah.
It's not the era we live in. I think it's how we choose to live life. The reason why modern life is depressing is, so I'm going on Instagram now.
Yep.
There's someone that's better looking than me. There's someone who's got a faster car than me. There's someone who's got a bigger house than me. Someone's got more money than me. I'm not good enough, you know.
Yeah. And I guess in an era where, you know, that kind of instant
gratification
and instant comparison was unavailable because we just didn't have the tech.
No.
You probably weren't comparing yourself. I mean, I bet you did. I bet you still did. I bet you still had people looking over the neighbour's garden and going, oh my gosh, they've got a better garden than me, or like, you know, a bigger house than me, or a better dress than me, a prettier wife than me. There would still be comparison, but not at the level that we're at now.
Not in the way we're at now.
No, it's kind of crushing. It's almost suffocating.
Yeah. That's the worst thing about modern life. That everything else is fine. No, that's not true.
I know what you mean. The day-to-day
medical advancements.
Fantastic.
I'd rather be alive now.
Absolutely.
I'd be dead.
You would be.
I'd be dead.
You would be, yeah. I mean, medical advancements are keeping
me alive.
You alive, which is keeping me alive because you're my life. So if you want to, you know, take yourself off grid, take yourself away from the modern world like many people are doing now, or live like it's the past where when you close your door, you could be in a completely different era, then maybe people should have the prerogative to do that. It doesn't necessarily mean they believe in the values of the past. It might just mean that they want to shut the doors on a very noisy world.
Has it been hard being professional with somebody you go to bed with?
Yeah, I've been rubbing your leg with my foot though, but that was more because of the nerves.
You've been a wonderful host.
I won't be doing this to all my guests. Mwah. Love you.
Love you.